Hey,
Hi.
you know what? For some reason, it's saying it's not going live on Facebook.
Are we live right now?
We're live, but we're not. Hold on, let me see. Technical stuff. Let me see if it's live on Facebook. If it's not, it's saying, oh, geez, this is too much work. Start talking, Kim. Say hi to
Hello,
people. We're live.
everybody.
We're on
I am.
we're on everything except Facebook for some reason. So we're gonna
Chris is
see
going to
why.
take care of the tech, and I am going to say hello, everybody. Let us know in the chat where you're from. Chris usually has a really great question to ask, so I think that my question of the day will be what is your favorite color? Because I'll be secretly like categorizing everyone based on their color preferences. Just kidding. It is so wonderful to see you all here. We've got folks in from Japan,
Wait, I think we went live on
Minnesota.
Facebook. Let's see.
Yay!
I think.
Hello from Houston, from Athens, Germany, Slovenia. Favorite color is yellow. Heather, I'm with you. It is at the very tippy top of my preferences too. Yellow, sunshine, yellow. Hi, Kiss, Kim, and Chris.
Yay, we're live on Facebook. It worked.
Yay! Someone said they're here to see my.
Go
We
ahead.
are a happy family. Someone's here from Yorkshire. We're here on Facebook and on all the other channels. So, yay.
Yeah, no, it literally, like, as I started it, it's like, oh, by the way, you're not live on Facebook. Something happened. Do you want
to
to
refresh
redo
your
it?
connection?
Yeah, no, it was weird. But you know what? It works. We're here. If you're from Facebook, say hi to us so we know that it's working. But we have Japan in the house, like you were saying.
Yes.
Saying hi
Yorkshire to Tennessee. We're looking for favorite colors.
Ooh, people's favorite colors. And we already got some questions in, which will be great as soon as we get into live questions.
Chris, what's your favorite color, hun? I don't
Mine's
know.
Yellow.
Mine too.
Yours is yellow?
Well, I go between, it's my brand color. So it's either yellow, right here.
Yes.
Or it's like a teal, like a peacock color.
Oh, we have another yellow team. Nobody ever likes yellow. And every time I tell people my favorite color is yellow, they're like, oh, that's odd. And I'm like,
that's what I said. I'll secretly try not to judge people based on their colors.
And you got purple in the house.
Purple. The Intuits are purple lovers.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I've liked yellow ever since I was a kid. My OCD actually wrapped around yellow. Yellow used to feel like a safe color.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yellow used to feel like a safe color. And so when I was a kid, like if I used to get something in yellow, it felt good. And I used to like cry and scream. I remember there was a time that I was with my dad and there was like a yellow water bottle at a store. And my OCD was just like, you need that water bottle. You'll drink water from it. You'll be safe. And I remember just throwing a fit in the store. And then people just like workers and stuff. Oh, we have another yellow. Workers and stuff just saying like, oh, like your kid needs to calm down, like he's spoiled, like people telling my dad like you need to calm your kid down. Still remember that memory. I wrote about it in this article I wrote. But for me, it's like obviously OC is not connected anymore, but it just makes me happy. It's just like such a happy, bright, sunshine. Everything's okay, like we're good kind of situation. So yeah, I just love yellow. And every time I tell people, I went miniature golfing on Valentine's Day with my Valentine. I was like, I have to be the yellow ball.
That's so sweet.
My color. I love me some yellow.
Yeah.
I'm going to comment on Facebook. If you're watching us from Facebook, it says we're live, but if you're watching us from Facebook, comment and say hi.
Yeah.
I'm going to
see a lot of YouTube.
Yeah, I see a lot of YouTube. Like I said, it was saying something happened with the live, but now it says it's airing, and I can see it on the IOCF. Oops, you can hear you. Hi, everyone. Let's see if it works.
Spence says yellow is the second favorite, blue is the first for me. So yeah, look at us. We've got a little team going on. It's okay if you don't like, someone said it's working from Facebook.
Yay.
It's okay if you don't like yellow. We love all the colors here.
Yes. You know what? I will say I'm flip-flop than Spence. So for me, my favorite color is yellow, but if I had to pick a second color, it's more like a teal, more like a pretty blue. Yes. Oh my God, that color. That color for me.
These are my two colors right here.
Yes, those are my two colors, Kim. That's why. We literally have the same color.
Literally, my office is like, even my whole thing is everything here.
I know. That's why when I saw your logo, I was like, oh my God, I love her logo. It has two of my favorite colors in it. So. Well, welcome everybody. So we had a little bit of technical stuff on Facebook. We're good now. Welcome. We are the Ask the Experts live stream. We're here every Wednesday at 12 Eastern on 12 noon Eastern, or on our coast, because Kim's on my coast. We are here at 9 a.m. early in the morning. Welcome everybody. We have a lot of international folk joining us. This is your live stream. So Kim is here co-hosting with me every third Wednesday of the month. And when we talked about what we wanted to provide for the third Wednesday, we really just wanted to answer your questions. That's like next week we have a topic, for instance, and I know sometimes people don't always vibe with the topic because it's not a subtype or a co-occurring disorder that you have. But Kim and I are here really just to kind of answer your questions, give you direction, give you support. So if you're watching us, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, also on iocf.org /live streams. Talk to us, ask us questions. We already have some questions submitted. We go in the order that we receive them. So if you ask a question early on, we'll answer it probably first. If you ask a question later on, we'll try to get it in. Sometimes people hit us up with like 10 questions right before we end, and it's like, no, we don't have enough time. So please ask your questions. Like I said, we already got a couple. We got some pre-submitted. I always like to start out reminding everybody that if you're in a crisis, like I said, Kimberly and I really want to support you and give you community and education. We just can't provide a crisis hotline. So here's some information that you can reach out to, as well as finding a provider. Make sure you find resources at iocf.org. You can specifically go to this link and you can find a provider. But just in case you don't know us, my name's Chris Trondsen. I'm a licensed therapist. I also have OCD, and I specialize in treatment of OCD, body dysmorphic disorder, and related disorders. I am also on the board of directors for the IOCDF as well as OCD SoCal, and I am an advocate sharing my OCD story through supporting the IOCDF. And also, I'm the proud co-creator of the BDD, both a BDD training for clinicians and a BDD training for people with BDD through CBT School, Kimberley Quinlan's amazing program. So I am here as the second best looking host, and the best looking host is Miss Kimberly.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't see anybody else. Who is this one person? My name is Kimberley Quinlan. I'm an OCD related conditions specialist. I have a podcast called Your Anxiety Toolkit. I have a private practice in California. And I am the owner of CBT School. So that's basically where we have online resources for folks who don't have access to, one-on-one treatment. So, yeah.
And Kimberly and I really do like each other. We're friends in real life. It's funny. Somebody asked me, they didn't say, do we like each other? They're like, oh, do you guys like know each other? Somebody had asked me on DMs. They said that we had good chemistry, and they're like, oh, do you guys know each other outside of this? And I was like, well, this was actually, the DM was before this, but yeah, Kimberly and I had Greek food this weekend. It was so much fun.
Chris bought me flowers.
I bought her flowers. You know what? It's funny. In retrospect, if I would have known yellow is your favorite color, I would have bought you yellow flowers.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was so nice to see you in person and actually get to hug you.
The Greek food was amazing. Liz Machiavel would be laughing because she says I always bring up being Greek or Norwegian at least once a stream. But no, the Greek food was good.
Drinking game.
It was good food, huh?
It was good. I always get my Greek fill when I'm with Chris.
Yeah. And then I love America, obviously, but Norway is winning the most medals in the Olympics. US is third, Italy second, but my Norwegian people are doing well. So
yes,
I'm like, you. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's enough about me. Yeah, so Kimberly, as you know, what I always like to do, we already got some questions, which is great. We have pre-submitted, but I like to always have just like a kind of opening chat question, probably for the next 10 minutes. And then, like I said, get your questions and we'll answer them. The two things that I want to ask you, oh shoot, the second one I have in my head, but the first one, I was like, oh, this is a perfect question. Well, I'll come back to the first one because I can't think of it. But for the second one, when you've talked with love, like supporters, parents, siblings, spouses, and stuff, what are kind of like your top three do's and don'ts? Like, what are some of the things that if somebody's watching this and they're here because they love and support somebody with OCD, what are some of those top, like, this will really help? And what are some of your tops, this hasn't been shown to really help?
It's funny you mentioned that. I literally just recorded a podcast on this exact topic, but it was more related to like how to speak to a loved one. And I think that, so maybe I'm answering your question, maybe I'm not, but for loved ones, here are the main things I'm going to remind you. Your tone matters so much. Your tone and how you communicate with them. Because I know it's frustrating. It's hard. Everyone's suffering. It's not just the person with OCD that's suffering or BDD that's suffering. And so all I want you to do first is as you go to interact with the person who has these conditions, just check your tone, make sure it is gentle and kind. You can still set limits, you can set boundaries, you can have hard conversations, but please just come with the most loving tone that you can. The second thing is, if you go online, you can actually Google family accommodation scale OCD, and that will help. It's just a PDF that will help you identify the specific behaviors you're engaging in that may be contributing to that person's condition. That way, once you filled that out, then instead of focusing on them and everything they have to do to change, you can then work on what your work is, which is to slowly, in communication with them, start to address the ways in which you accommodate. And I get it. When you have a loved one who's suffering, you want to just come in and take their pain away. But that family accommodation scale, thank you, Ash, you put it in the comments. That is so important to identify how you might be interacting and encouraging some of the behaviors.
Yeah, you know what? I think the reason I like this topic is the reason I like this topic and why I like to ask it is because we just had the family and support group this past Saturday. So that's what always kind of like sparks in my head. And one of the things that always makes me the most sad is like I'll have we'll get a lot of comments from family members and loved ones that will say, hey, my adult child, he's in his 40s, is living at home, he's not really doing much, he's not willing to go to treatment, we can't even bring it up, he's stuck in compulsions all day. And like I said, I can never relate to having a child with OCD, right? I don't have any children, but I've been a little bit more open about it. My nephew, my youngest sister, and my dad all have OCD. And it is like, there has to be a point that you make a decision that it's like, I love this person too much to like add to it, right? So like a big example, I brought it up in the family group and my mom couldn't acknowledge this because she's lived with it, right? My sister as well. But my dad has health-related OCD. Like since I was a kid, he's always had stomach ulcers, cancer, heat stroke, migraines, like all these things, yet no doctor can ever find it. It'll be there today and then gone the next day, and now it's a new thing. And so just our whole lives, we gave into it. My grandma gave into it. I mean, he wasn't working. He was living at home with my grandma. And it's like, my grandma would always come to me and be like, Chris, he's really sick. Like, we got to just be quiet in the house and leave him alone. And it's like, I witnessed someone stop working at 13. Well, when I was 13, not him. When I was 13, he works. So I always have to put this caveat in case my dad ever sees this stuff. My dad's great now. My dad is completely turned his life around the best that he can, right? But that was just recent. Before that, it's like he didn't work. He lived at home. He was in bed all the time, feeling sick. And it hurts me now knowing it's OCD, but we fed it so much. And we thought like coming to him, being like, tell us about it, and are you okay, was helping him. And it never helped him. It just never did. And finally, what I've done is I haven't been mean. I haven't been cruel. It's just if my dad brings his health up, I give it a quick like, oh, well, I hope you can figure this one out. And I move right on to a different topic or sit down and talk to other people because I'm not going to be his audience. Right. So I relate to the people out there supporting a loved one with OCD. It's tough. You know,
Yeah.
my youngest sister, like, we just don't talk about it. My little nephew, I have a little bit more control, and I don't cave into it, and he doesn't really see, show signs of OCD around me anymore. But it's tough. I
Yeah.
always, live it, but I just have realized, like, I don't want to contribute to something and make it work.
Yeah. And I think it's important for everyone to know that, right? So even if you're the sufferer, they're not like avoiding you or ignoring you because they don't care. It's just that all of us, whether you're the sufferer or you're the family, no, we should not be feeding that condition. We should not be giving it more airtime than it deserves, because it just grows. So they're doing it from a place of love. They're doing that from a place of caring about you, and not feeding that condition. So please don't take it personally as if they don't love you because they're not tending to your condition.
Yeah. Okay. I remember my question for people. We had a really good conversation in my group last night. That's where I get all my stuff, my topics for you groups, because I have the Tuesday group before you. They were talking about it, and one of the, all the people are talking about, their success and stuff. And one of the members of group was just saying, she's like, I don't feel like I'm making as much success as the regular, as the rest of you all. And obviously we had a whole conversation. Don't compare yourself to others. You're on your own path. But as she kind of started talking about it more, she acknowledged, like, her therapist is not really pushing her, kind of like babies her a little bit. She's making small progress, but it's been 2 years and it's this really small progress. And there was a great conversation where everybody in group said, look, it's going to be tough, but you got to make enough gains that you're winning against the OCD. Because if you're making small changes, OCD is coming in with bigger changes. I think of it as like a shopping basket. Like, if you're taking one item out and somebody in your family is putting 5 in, you're never going to get to a point that you can afford your groceries, right?
Shopping with a 4-year-old.
Right, exactly. Little kids just throwing stuff. I used to do that. Drive my mom crazy. I remember moments like trying to sneak stuff in, and my mom's like, "No."
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about that? Like, obviously, treatment isn't your therapist shouldn't bully you and stuff, but I think, like, holding expectations for yourself, your therapist holding expectations, family, trying to make big enough gains that the OCD is so damaged it can't come back so strong. Why is that a better strategy than, like, really baby steps for years and years and years? That's what she was kind of experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just hit the nail on the head, which is, like anything in life, it is about in and out. Like, that's just the way the world works. I think that another way you can conceptualize it is OCD impacting your functioning, or are you improving on your functioning? So if your focus is like, I just need to get wins with my functioning, then you can start to see the gains, right? That's where I often will find, like, focus on where you see the most visible gains in your lifetime. So put your attention on, how can I, like, what behaviors, where is OCD trying to take away my functioning, and how can we really focus in on that? To speak to, like, the concern about, like, going so slow, I think that OCD in general makes us feel so vulnerable, and it makes us feel like we are so easy to break. And I've been thinking about this a lot, especially as someone who does a lot of podcasts and YouTubes. And you don't want to be like that coach who's like, you can do it, come on. But a part of it is that strength mindset of really, like, reminding yourself, like, you won't break. You won't break. I think that we feel so vulnerable and we start to treat ourselves like we're so breakable, like we're so fragile, but you will not break. And so it's a lot about sort of revving yourself up to remind yourself, like, you're so much stronger than you think.
That's such a good point. I think that's something that always kind of saddens me, is like when I or the family has more faith in the client than they have in themselves. And I think too, the other thing I think about, and this goes outside of OCD, obviously, like, a lot of times I don't feel ready to do something and I'm just like, let's go do it. The biggest thing for me is hiking. I'll literally, like, start a hike and I'm looking at it like, this doesn't seem easy, but I'm like, well, we'll figure it out. And the cool thing is I can always take a break and get my energy back up and keep going. Right. So when I was in Norway, there was this huge hike, and we had done a boating thing before, so it was getting dark, and I'm like, I was like, am I going to be able to like get back to the car? Like, is this like end for me? But I was like, we're just going to do it. So I think it's sometimes like, my favorite new quote that I didn't even hear before, I heard it recently, but it's like, ready is not a feeling, it's a decision. And I totally believe that, because we wait to feel ready. I don't
Yes.
do that in hiking. I just
Mhm.
decide I'm ready to hike, and I'm like, well, if this is it, like,
Yeah.
Kim, you can come to my house and have everything yellow. I'm like, we'll just
Yep.
figure it out, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's cool doing that, because I think that I've always trusted landing on my feet. And obviously I didn't have it at the start of my OCD treatment, but there was a rhythm that I got when I finally was like, oh, I got this. Like,
Yeah.
everything that OCD says doesn't come true, and it's totally worse on paper than
Yeah.
it is, actually, once I've accomplished it.
Yeah. And I think the thing I would say is become your own hype girl. When I have to do things I don't want to do, I just went to this marketing and like networking event the other day, and I hate those events. Like, I really, really hate them. I could be, if they didn't call it a networking event, I'd probably really want to go. But the fact that it's called that, just, I don't like it. And I remember sitting in the car, and I actually swore, not at myself, but was like, let's go. But I said a swear word between those two words. But it shifted something in me, right? Is I've had to learn to be like, I could be like, oh, I don't want to do this. Or I could be just like, let's go, let's do this. Like, come on, Kimberly, you've got this. And that has shifted things for me in those moments where I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want, like, can I just go home and be in my pajamas? Like, and I think that that's important to find, like, what hypes you up, what gets you going.
I don't know how to explain this, and I hope you can totally vibe with what I'm saying. But I was thinking about it. The group. Somebody asked me in the group last night, like, do you still experience some stuff coming up for you? And I said, for me, it's when I do something new. But I'm in such a good place that I know what to do in the situation. But I'm dating someone, like, it's going really well, and I want it to work out. And there's definitely been a couple themes that have come up, like, not that there's anything that they've done, but I've always had a fear of, like, STIs or STDs. It's always been something, right? Or, on the BDD side, my hair being perfect when I go on a date, or, really trying to, like, not give in to my contamination. We went mini golfing, and I'm like touching everything, right? But I think for me, it's like I stopped treating OCD as like a fact, and it's more like a suggestion. Am I going to listen to it? But what you were just saying when you were in the car, like, I do that too. And I hope people take your strategy. I do it too, but I like you said it better. But no, really that, right? I'm like, we're doing this. Like, a lot of times I'll say yes to something before my brain is ready. And that's how it's with dating. It's like, they'll be like, let's go do this. And OCD is like, well, actually, if you do this could, and I'm like, yes, let's go. Let's do this.
Go. Yes.
I'll get there. I really hope they don't watch this. They're going to, they don't know OCD. So I'm think I'm crazy, but we were mini golfing, and we forgot to get like the paper and pencil to track like your shots. And I'm competitive as hell. And I'm like, we're tracking our shots. By the way, I lost by 3 swings. So I'm still better. But no, like, instead of like the paper, I was like, oh, I'll just track it on my phone. And the OCD was like, oh, you're gonna swing balls, touch equipment, and then touch your phone? Like, you're crazy. And I was like, I am. Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Let's go.
And the cool thing is, like, within a few minutes, it goes away, right? And a lot of things don't come up. I have 97%, 98% of my days are quiet. It's just, it's anytime something new. Traveling overseas, dating isn't new. That would make me seem sad at my age if it was. But, but getting back into dating, right? Like, I hadn't been serious with someone in a while. So my point of bringing all this up is, like, I hope people have those Kimberley Quinlan in the car, let's go moments, because you got to have it. You got to be your coach. You got to hype yourself up.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, let's jump into some questions. So, YouTube user asked, I sometimes feel anxious because I'm unsure about my memory. When I'm unsure about my memory, how should I handle this? So maybe generalizing, like, when we're unsure of something, when there's doubt there, obviously what OCD wants us to do is to figure it out, right? So when somebody's questioning their memory, or in general OCD, when somebody's questioning anything, what is something good? How should we address it?
Oh my God. I think I was just telling you about this on our lunch date. Okay, so I'll actually first, I'm fully with you, user YG. Like, I get this. So I don't know if you know, my father has dementia. I tested positive for the Alzheimer's gene, And now my anxiety wants to know whether I'm going to become that. Like it's constant. Like if I forget where my keys are, my first thought is like, oh, here we go. Like, what if I, here's the beginning. I'm losing my memory. Like this is it. So I've had to work really hard on this recently to make sure that I don't become very compulsive about what I do remember and what I don't. The first thing is I made a deal with myself that my memory and what I have remembered and what I haven't is off limits. Like I kind of like put it in a category, meaning it's not to say that I am not allowed to have those intrusive thoughts because that I can't control. But when I have them like in a little box where I'm like, they are not touchable. I'm not allowed to touch that topic with a 10-foot pole. I'm not allowed to review that. I am not allowed to even try and solve that because it's unsolvable. And so for me, it's like when I do forget something, which is often like a thought or like I was halfway through a sentence and I'm like, oh my God, I've totally lost where my track was with that. My job is to go, we're not trying to solve it. All I'm going to do in that moment is bring my attention to the present and then allow whatever uncertainty I have and proceed. Now, some people might say, but isn't that kind of a bit like irresponsible? Shouldn't you be keeping up with whether or not your memory is going? No, I will have a checkup once a year where I have the cognitive test. There's nothing I can do. Checking it for myself is not going to do anything. So my job is for the next 9 months until I have my next cognitive test, I'm not allowed to address it. And so I'm very firm with myself. Now, am I perfect? No. But I think what it's important is get really clear on what compulsions you're likely to do and then set really strong self boundaries with what you will allow yourself to engage in. And I have a time, like in 9 months, I will get retested, but that's it. There's no more memory talk after that.
Yeah, what I like what you talk about, and that was going to be one of my questions, but I'll save it for the next month because I know that you have a lot of material you've been putting out on rumination, and that's what I think the reason it's so important. I'm glad that you're doing it is because I think it's one of the unlooked parts of OCD treatment and why people don't always get as better as they can. They're doing really great on the behavioral part. They're like, Chris, I'm not eating this anymore. I'm not wiping this down, or I'm not praying this much. But mentally throughout the day, they're just ruminating. They're actively thinking, solving, fixing, addressing whatever worry they have. And you just nailed it, right? Like, but behaviorally, like only going once a year and doing the test is great. But if you're between those years, all you're doing is thinking about taking that test, that's not an obsession anymore. You're actively chattering back and forth, and it becomes that rumination, that compulsion. So it is really kind of like dropping the conversation. And when clients ask me like, well, how do I do that? It's hard. But it's really deciding like I have to actively engage, which means I have to tune the world out. I have to kind of half pay attention to my life while I'm actively arguing, figuring out, freaking out up here. So what if I reverse it? What if it kind of starts to become background noise and I'm like, I know the test is in a year. I have nothing left to address or talk. If you want to hang out and chatter in my brain, you do you, OCD. But I got some stuff that I'm going to go do, and I'm accepting your version of risk to not talk about it, and we'll see if that's okay. But I'm not going to give in, and it's tough. Nobody says this is easy.
No, and there's radical acceptance. The radical acceptance here is checking and thinking about it will not change it.
Yeah,
it won't. So it's really acknowledging and letting go of this idea of control and certainty. Like nothing I check is going to change this. So I'm just not touching it.
Yeah. I agree. I like this one. How can we overcome news article stories that OCD then sticks us in those situations when it's happening in real life? OCD tends to seem scary because it's actually happening to someone else, which is a great question, right? I think it's one of those things where it's like, there is going to be material that's happening in the news cycle, situations that the brain latches onto.
Yeah. I really like Sharla Nicely's. She wrote Is Fred in the Refrigerator, a really great memoir. But I really like her approach to this, which is she always says, thank you, OCD. Like she thanks OCD for giving her the opportunity to practice using her skills. So if something triggers her, instead of being like, no, why am I now triggered by that? No, 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 no. It's more like flip that on its butt and go, okay, thanks, OCD. Like, great. I really want, and she talks a lot about this in her book, is I really want this opportunity for me to practice my response prevention. Thank you, thank you, thank you for bringing me this trigger. And I think, well, you may not actually be thankful for it, but it's a good reframe on, instead of being like, oh no, now I'm triggered, it's thank you for an opportunity to practice my skills, because this is a muscle, right? The more we strengthen that muscle, the stronger it gets and the easier it is to then use these skills.
The other thing I like to do with clients is like when clients come in with like articles, right? And they're like, oh my God, this is happening, et cetera, right? What I'll do is I'll look up like last time person in Southern California won lottery, right? And I'll say, well, do you get lottery tickets? And they're like, no, why? And I'm like, well, somebody won the lottery 3 months ago. Like, why aren't you going out and buying cars? If other people are winning the lottery, why aren't you buying lotto tickets and buying cars? You could go put it in your credit card because you're going to win a lottery because she did, right? Or, I'll look up something, right? Something like that, where it's like good news. And they're always just, I'm always saying like, how come your brain doesn't latch on and say these great things are going to happen to me? It's only these disastrous things. And they're like, yeah, it's right. And I'm like, exactly. Kind of like what you were just saying. We think about the biology of the brain and what's going on with OCD. The part of our brain that deals with potential danger and risk is so much more active than the average brain. So our brain is scanning for danger. So if we see it in an article, it's like, that could happen to us. But the problem is, then I'll ask a client, well, you're in Southern California, earthquakes happen. You've never mentioned in session. How come your brain doesn't care about that, right?
Yeah.
Bias. Our brain is scanning the world to find certain articles that trigger our OCD subtype to then validate our compulsions. But like you were just saying about mental compulsions, these physical compulsions don't protect us from anything.
No.
There's a normal range of stuff, like you were talking about going to your appointments. But outside of that, OCD gives us this false sense of like, I'm more safe than everyone. I'm doing more than other people. And it's like, no. It's just a lot of wasted time. And it reinforces that this thing, if you're reading the articles every day, it's going to make it sound like it's happening to you tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And if you want a fun exposure, then you take that story and you write your new article with you as a part of it. Like that can be, we just did a really great episode on Your Anxiety Toolkit podcast with Kimberley Delonte, I think her name is. I've got her name wrong. Glazier Delonte, I think is her, Leonti is her name, excuse me. And we were talking about how to make ERP fun-ish. We said fun-ish because it's never going to be fun. But we were talking about like, if that news article has really got you, get creative and write a new news article with you in it. Like, what would the headline be? Oh, Kimberley Quinlan, loses her memory and, I don't know, kisses the principal of her son's school instead of her husband. Like, whatever it is that would maybe make you giggle, but is an opportunity to expose yourself to that fear. Again, we're not going to like do it against your will, but have fun with it. Write a news article about the ridiculous things you're afraid of happening.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to ask you this because, first of all, props, Nathan, good friend of the show, just started ERP. It's hard. Going to give it my best shot. We were talking about, somebody said that in my session, not the group yesterday. She was like, I appreciate that you told me it's hard in the get-go because, and I told her, I was like, the reason I tell my clients that is because it was challenging for me, like starting treatment. And I thought I must be doing it wrong, right? Because usually you associate treatment with like going to a spa, getting a massage, it's relaxing, you take a medicine, your headache's going away. So I was like, am I doing it wrong? And my therapist is like, oh, it's going to be challenging. But why do you think it's hard? Why do you think it's hard? Because people will say that. So what do you feel like is hard about it?
So much. But here is what I say. So you talked about like the rumination course. The most common comment that people have made inside that course is, thank you for telling me I'm going to suck at this, right? Like across the board, people are like, thank you for just giving me permission to suck at this. Because I think that in life, we think that if we're going to do something, we're going to succeed, and it's just going to be like, it's like the movies, right? You're just going to become like the winner of the Super Bowl, or you're going to win the Olympics, or you're going to become the best singer or whatever. Like, it's not that. This is hard work. It's hard because you're doing, you're facing your biggest fear. It's hard because you probably, again, remember, the voice of OCD is very demeaning. It's mean. It tells you you won't survive and thrive. And so you're fighting that. You're not just doing something hard. You're also fighting that voice in your head. And your job is to get used to and learn to navigate that voice instead of taking it as if it's all right and all correct. You have to just learn that that's OCD's trick to keep you stuck in that mud. And so I think it's hard because you're facing your fears. Number two, it's hard because you are also handling that voice. And the third thing is, anxiety is incredibly draining. Like, it's not like you're at coming in, starting this treatment in your tip-top best shape of your life. You're already exhausted. You're already wiped out. Like, it's taking things, you're feeling hopeless and sad. So give yourself a ton of grace. You're starting at sort of from this baby first step, and you're exhausted already, which is why you want to like wrap yourself in so much compassion as you do this work.
Yeah. I was thinking two things is one is, when I think of like a firefighter, right? I have the utmost respect
Mm,
for a firefighter because
mm,
I think running into
mhm.
a fire sounds horrific, right? Or
Yeah.
I think of people, I don't have like a fear of normal heights. Like I can be on a rooftop restaurant, but like people that like, parkour from building to building or like jump off of like cliffs, no. Um, but like what I think the mindset that those people have, whether it's a firefighter, you could say that, the same for cops, you could say for military, right? I
Yeah.
have a lot of respect for people that choose to like put themselves in
Yeah.
those places, right?
Yeah.
You have people that do that, and there's just something in their brain where they're like, I'm going for it, right? Like that's my mission. I'm going to go
Mm,
for it. So
mm.
going back to the firefighter, I see the fire, I'm running towards it while everybody else is running away. And I
Yeah.
think what happens is like the part of our brain that wants to keep us alive and keep us safe has totally given up the fight part. There's fight, flight,
Mm.
and freeze and fawn. But in this situation, it's more like fight, flight, or freeze. The brain
Mhm.
has given up the fight. It's like you
Yeah.
either flight, like run away, or freeze, and the whole fight thing has been thrown out the door. But the fight
Yeah.
thing is what's most important, because just like the firefighter choosing to like run into the fire, I think it goes against our natural instinct to run towards anxiety and choose to be dysregulated. So that's why I always tell people you got to think about the anxiety and the compulsive thing that you're overcoming as a gate blocking what you want on the other side. So if you really want to go to Disneyland so you can see your niece's, face when she sees Minnie Mouse for the
Mm.
first time, you're going to have to be okay. If your OCD is about mass shootings, right? You're going to have to decide you're going to go anyways. You got to run into that fire. And I think when
Yeah.
people adopt that mindset,
Mhm.
treatment starts to feel a little bit, not a lot of it, but a little bit more downhill, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like you were saying about Shala, this is an opportunity. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I remember I
Yeah.
said that once at the family group. I said, what, you'll get to a point where you look at triggers as opportunities to get better. And a mom was like, my son walked away when you said that. He said it'll never get like that. I'm like, you do though. If you really consistently do
Mhm.
the treatment, when you go to a restaurant, you can order something where you have to eat with your hands or a fork and knife. You're like, I want to eat the food with my hands. I want to be challenged. I remember somebody at the IOCF conference once said, she's like, every time I drive somewhere, I find on the map the busiest intersections, because she had hit and run, and that's the direction I'll go.
Yeah.
Like, get into that run into the fire mindset, it's over for OCD.
Yeah. I have a really good friend. She doesn't have OCD, but she had got a new dog, and they called their dog Maverick. And I was like, that's a cool name. Why'd you call it Maverick? And she said, because my daughter has a lot of anxiety, and I have to keep reminding her, don't think, just do. And I know that's very simple and very poetic, and life is not that easy. But the people I see who do get better, are sort of adopt that philosophy of like they just kind of get really good at throwing themselves into opportunities to be scared or to have that discomfort. And so I think that idea of like, don't sit and think about how it would go and what could happen, and if I do the exposure, what, you know, how will it, what will go on, what would that mean about me? It's about that sort of just diving in as best as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I both like and I'm always sad about comments like this, right? So thanks for being authentic, Spence. But I kept my OCD a secret from my family because I did not know what it was. I just thought I was a weirdo. Descriptions of OCD in the popular imagination do not fit what I had, at least not completely. Yeah, I mean, I liked this comment, even though it's not really a big question, because I think one of the big things that people with OCD always grapple about is like, how open am I going to be to my family, to the person I'm dating, to my coworkers? And obviously, if the subtype doesn't necessarily fit what is shown in popular media, that adds a level to it. You know, I think if somebody has OCD around harming their children, you know, people are very scared to open up about that, because what if somebody calls CPS on me, et cetera? So it's not really a question, but I was just going to say, Spence, like, just know you're not alone. I think
No.
it is so challenging. It's something that clients of mine, as they get better, grapple with all the time. You know, they're applying to jobs, they have a big gap. They're like, do I mention OCD, or, you know, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I think it's something that we're not quite there yet. We have way better information in the mainstream media about OCD, but I still don't think we're quite there.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, always breaks my heart. Um, okay, the question I had is, in your opinion, what treatment is the most efficient for OCD besides ERP? I'll kick this off, and you can say what your thoughts. I'll just be authentic. Like, ERP is always the center point of the treatment I do with clients, and the reason for that is because I think about everyday life. Let's say, you know, you're at a point where maybe you go to the doctors and you recognize like your health is not great. Going on a health journey, there's a lot of unknowns. Am I going to be good at it? Am I going to quit? Am I going to go to the gym and injure myself? Like, people without OCD, right? Their brain comes up with a lot of potential what ifs and challenges. And you have to get to a point where you finally say, you know what? I could what if myself to death, or I'm going to take action and I'll rise to the occasion when they come up. And then you got to develop a plan, and then you have to make behavioral change. So to me, I was in my head all the time with OCD. So ERP was so good because it took action. And every single person I've ever met that has gotten truly better from OCD has always mentioned ERP in that statement. I would say if I had to toss out another adjunctive treatment that I find so helpful, I really like acceptance and commitment therapy. And I think the reason I like it is because there is a mindfulness center point. And I've always said that OCD sucks at living in the present moment. I always joke with my clients, like, nobody's sitting in front of me in my session and saying, Chris, I'm dying right now. I am currently dying, right? It's always, I'm going to die, or I did something last week that's going to make me die in the future. So being in the present is boring. They're just in an air-conditioned office on a couch, right? And ACT is really like separating yourself from the disorder, being more of an observer and being more mindful. So I do think it pairs really nicely. Additionally, I think that it's so important to recognize the things that you value and are important to you. And it gives you sort of like that motivation and that drive to look past the difficult now for a better future.
Yeah. So the way I'll weigh in, because I agree with you, Chris, but this is the way I look at it within my clinical practice. So when we have a case of someone who is doing ERP and they're struggling, we always educate them at the beginning of the treatment that there are two primary efficient treatments for OCD. Number one is going to be exposure and response prevention. Number two is going to be medication. Across the meta-analysis of treatment, they're really showing the benefit of those. Now, they say the most successful isn't actually ERP, it's the combination of the two. And so often what we do is if somebody's not on medication, we will then explore that in addition to ERP, because that sometimes just gives you a leg up. There are folks who don't want to take medication, and then we would always prefer to do ERP with a supplement, like Chris said. So it's not like we say, oh, ERP, no. We say, okay, could we do ERP with a supplement of ACT? Can we do ERP with a supplement of self-compassion if criticism is really in the way? If, let's say, someone is struggling because they're dysregulated, we might do ERP with a supplement of dialectical behavioral therapy. So we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're trying to specialize and personalize the treatment to sort of give you a leg up. Just like if you went to a physical therapist, they're not going to just treat your knee and ignore the other areas and muscles around them. They're going to try and give you a fully personalized treatment to sort of help that knee work that they're doing like rise up, if that makes sense. So definitely what Chris is saying, but I would definitely consider medication.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think I always tell people, like, if you are really struggling to make changes, the medication is going to help with that, both kind of like make your mind kind of click and make sense of it, but also lower that anxiety. How do I help my autistic PDA child accept help? She's been housebound since September. So if people aren't familiar with PDA, it stands for pathological demand avoidance. I have a good friend whose child has both OCD and autism. And in autism, sometimes people do resist any kind of, not demand for help, but family members or people kind of like pushing them to get help. A lot of times that actually turns them off, even if it's something that would help them. And what I've been helping my friend do, and it's been really, really effective, who has PDA and autism and OCD, shows PDA with their autism and OCD, is you have to get them to buy in. You can't make them the problem. You can't push. You have to make them see some intrinsic value into that. And so what my friend has been doing is just like slowly planting like really little seeds, bringing them into the conversation. Their child's open to therapy, but the way that it's been marketed to their child is like, hey, I want to be able to help you more with what you're struggling with. Can we see someone together so I can help navigate? So I think it comes into the presentation. A lot of times, if it feels like you've got to go get help, push. Sometimes with PDA, people push back, even if it's something that might help them. So, and look, I think that strategy is helpful for anyone that is resisting help. When somebody feels like they're trying to be fixed because they're a burden, there's a turnoff point. So bringing the person in, having them understand how this would help their life, but making it more of like a team effort versus like a demand.
Agreed.
I haven't heard of this, but I thought I'd throw it out there. I have a question. My son has been diagnosed with OCD. Can OCD be overlooked as seizures? I guess the way I thought of this question is like when I first saw a psychiatrist said that I had Tourette's because one of my OCD is trying to balance. I don't really do that anymore. It's not something that's come up for me in forever, but it's like if I sat back and my left shoulder blade hit the couch first, I'd get up and do the right and then try to do it even. So I was doing this in offices and this in offices, so Tourette's. So I guess if somebody has some kind of like physical compulsions that makes them look like they're doing something, I mean, seizures would be a far stretch, but sometimes people can be misdiagnosed for, schizophrenia or something because they're talking about like, I'm having thoughts. So I think getting a full proper diagnosis is always important.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, I think generally some people with anxiety do tend to like bounce a little or fidget a little, but I have not heard this in my practice much at all.
Yeah, and then they asked another question. He wants to know, when the OCD attacks, can people react to the OCD as it happened and not true reality? So the way I see this question is like, can you react to it as if it's OCD? And my answer would be, I think always, if labeling something as OCD is helpful, as long as it's not compulsive, I think it can help. So, getting really good at understanding your triggers and what situations bring up your anxiety so that when it happens, you can say, "Ooh, okay, OCD's coming on strong. She thinks she's helping me right now. She really wants me to like bolt from this venue, but you know what? I'm going to go." Because if you treat it like true reality, it's so hard to do the treatment if you've already decided that it's it's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so this is going to be a little bit of a long question. So it says, I have magical OCD. I have very important dates in the near future, and I've been doing nonstop compulsions regarding the things so they go right. My mind thinks bad, then I do the compulsion. it says you have to do these compulsions for the time being till the big dates come, or so everything can go right. But in one corner, I think I'd be really able to overcome because I've been doing uh, these for nearly a year. It also disturbs me practicing, but I can't do anything. My mind's like, you have to do it as it approaches my mind so restless. So in a situation like that, because that's a subtype that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, but like magical thinking around dates, right? So in this case, she has these dates coming up. So she's doing all these compulsions to make that thing go right. What's an approach somebody can take so that they're not allowing their whole like build up to that be filled with OCD?
Yeah. So it sounds like this. Let me first validate. I have had so many clients get stuck on this. And I think where they get stuck is in that moment, you're like, it's fine. I'll just do the compulsions if it means that I get this event to go well. I wonder if you could first find something very small to practice. We call it like tainting your OCD, like practicing something really small to taint this theory. So an example might be a client of mine recently had a similar situation, and it was often around certain numbers. If they shared good numbers and bad numbers, and so what we would do is external to that, she was still doing a lot of compulsions, but we started to practice like infusing the bad number onto things, and that was just an opportunity for her to dabble and practice and experiment with not neutralizing, because it's called a neutralizing compulsion when you're doing this, not neutralizing that fear, and then slowly working your way up to actually having it be around this event that's coming up. And what they found was, it wasn't perfect, but the first steps was they were still doing some compulsions, but they were able to then infuse, like write the little number on their wrist as they went into the event, or they're working on that sort of exposure. Another opportunity is to slow down in those moments where you want to do the compulsion and practice what we call response prevention, which is, can I delay doing this behavior for a certain amount of time? Maybe 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 6 minutes, and slowly increasing. And what we found in that slowing down was, in those moments, if they can practice just being very present, the urge to do that compulsion actually goes away or goes down significantly to where it feels tolerable. And so a lot of the time, my client would often say, in the moment, that urge is really strong, but if I were to delay it, I actually can move on without, and just observe that was an urge that I experienced. So I don't know if you have feedback or additional you want to add to that, Chris.
No, I think you landed it. I mean, the hard thing about magic, I was thinking while you were talking, like the hard thing about magical thinking, because I had it with numbers as well. It was the most random thing, but I used to have to call my mom at work before noon because then she wouldn't die in a car accident. This is when I was living on my own, and I moved out at like 18. So I'd call her at work for reassurance, but also it was always before that. I had to go to bed at 12:45 and wake up at 9:45. Like there's just these certain rules, and it's hard because what OCD says, I always tell clients, like, be suspicious when the outcome is so mysterious, right? OCD would be like, do it or else, right? And it's kind of just like, it was never that something was going to happen that day. Something bad would happen in the future. And I'm like, that's too ambiguous. When I got in treatment, I'm like, that's too ambiguous. Like, I'm not going to give into something because of maybe or what if. So, but no, I think you nailed it. Our good friend Patrick says, what's up? What's up? So hi to see you, Patrick. Also, like this shirt, I did realize now, I've noticed it looks like a hologram or 3D. We were talking about it.
I know, it's so cool.
Thank you. I love this comment. I want it on a t-shirt. Somebody said ERP is scary, and they said it's scary, but untreated OCD is scarier.
Yeah, for real.
Another t-shirt. Ain't nobody got time for OCD.
That's awesome. We should, every time we do this, we should have like a t-shirt logo competition. Like, who can come up with the best slogan for a t-shirt?
It's between those two. Ain't nobody got time for OCD. And then on the back, it could say, treatment sounds scary, but untreated OCD is scarier.
Yes.
I just wanted to, a quick, this breaks my heart when people say a previous OCD clinician told me ERP was unkind and cruel. I think of it as like, what we're asking you to do is to fight back for your life, right? Like I went through ERP for years for my own treatment. I never thought of it as cruel. Was it hard? Was it tough? Were there moments I was angry at my therapist or mad at the world? Sure. Mad at my parents for making me go to treatment and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, man, my life is so full because I went through it. So I think this idea of it being unkind and cruel, sure. I think if, like an example is like if a client is really struggling with eating with silverware at a restaurant, we're going to go to a restaurant and eat with silverware. Now, can ERP unkind and cruel? Sure. Like if I was to take the fork and go in the bathroom and rub it in the toilet and then hand it to him and be like, now you have to eat. Sure. But that's not what people are doing, right? So I think having somebody wash their hands, what science says, or pray at night, but not pray for an hour is not unkind or cruel. It's trying to get you free time back so you can live your life to the fullest.
Can I weigh in here just
Of course.
for
Yeah.
fun? I feel so sad that you got told this. I feel like it's a very big disservice for a clinician. It's ultimately just misinformation. And what I mean by that is the only person who would say such a thing are people who don't actually understand what real compassionate ERP looks like. And so what I would say here is the only way in which ERP would be unkind and cruel is if it was forced to the degree where you were like when the exposures were to go against your values. But I do not know any OCD therapists who would ever dream of that. The ones who are really well trained, it's a collaboration. Like we are CBT therapists. CBT is a type of collaborative treatment. So I'm so sorry that you got told that. I would just literally think of this as someone who's just not very educated about it. I actually think not being treated with ERP is more unkind and cruel because, again, someone said there's nothing scarier than untreated OCD. And so that's just my 2 cents on that.
It's a beautiful 2 cents. I agree, right? So many people go through treatments that have no evidence based, or people will kind of skirt around frontline and say, frontline and adjunctive and do other treatments first. And I've had clients have that happen. And then they do ERP and they're like, oh my God, my last therapist was using a different modality and it took me 8 months to make progress. I'm able to open door handles after 3 sessions, so.
Agreed.
This question comes from David. He has OCD. His daughter is 33 and has OCD as well. And she calls him a lot to get reassurance, goes into every detail. I'll tell him, he'll tell her it's OCD. What we talked a little bit about this at the start, David, but what I wanted to say is like, I think what I tell all my family members, and this might help, is that you can't be an additional audience to OCD. So what I mean by that is you don't disregard the love for your child, right? So let's say she calls you and is really struggling. What you want to say to her is you want to validate the struggle, you want to be there and stuff. But the goal is to not then listen to every detail. My mom and I did that really well to and from my treatment. I would talk about like maybe my struggle or how I was burnt out or exhausted. I'd talk to her about what I did in treatment, the game plan, etc. But in the beginning, that's what I did. I'd call her at work and just talk about my brain and what was going on for like, hours. And she'd have to like, run back and forth for her work and stuff. It doesn't help. It just gives it a platform. Think of OCD as a diva who now has a stage with an audience and fans. So what you want to work on, David, you could do it in a systematic way, but work on not going into detail. More so, what is she struggling with? How can she use her tools, etc. I'm wondering if both of you have received treatment and really working on like, how can we collaborate to use tools to overcome the current trigger versus just hearing everything and reassuring, because you want her to know that it's OCD internally so that she can get better on her own without needing your help. I feel like this question is perfect for you. OCD is terrifying and scary. Any tips on how to be brave when OCD attacks? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Number one, gather your tribe, right? Like and if you haven't got a tribe, I want you to think about Chris and I just cheering you on, right? Because believe me, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel like it is absolutely impossible in that moment to do the work. But I really want to encourage you. This is like push-ups. And I know that is a ridiculous metaphor, but I have only recently started to try to do push-ups. And when I start, I couldn't even do one really properly from my knees. It's something that if you're willing to just keep trying, what will happen is one day you'll be like, oh my God, I can do one push-up. But for weeks, you won't have any like reward. It's sort of rewardless, right? But I really want you to remember that this is something that, you can do. Now, when it says I need tips on how to be brave, again, brave is not something you learn to do. What I'm saying here is it's not something you learn by reading about it or hearing certain things. It's deciding and reminding yourself about your strength. That's what I was talking about before. Like, keep reminding yourself, like, this will not break me. I will not implode. I've never, ever heard on the news someone imploded because their anxiety got too high, right? So it's about, like, are you willing to test the waters? Are you willing to do science experiments with yourself to see what you can tolerate? And the other thing here is, I always say it, but it is a beautiful day to do hard things. Like, have that mentality, do the hard things. And it doesn't even have to be with your OCD. Research shows that if you actually expose yourself to other things that create fear for you, it actually converts over to other fears you have. So if you have, let's say, a fear of needles, but you also have a fear of dogs, by practicing being around dogs, you can actually start to master this art of being anxious so that when you do have to have a needle, you'll be able to get the needle. So practice doing scary things in all areas of your life. It's been shown to help as well.
Yeah. Okay. I see it's time. We have 4 questions. We're going to do speed round.
Mhm.
So I'll do 2 and you do 2. And then the
Great.
last one, I'll start with this one because it's not really a question. Somebody asked, what is the best medication? So I'll put it in the chat when Kim's saying her final thoughts, but the IOCDF just released their best treatment guidelines. We're going to put that in the chat so you can click on that and you'll see that frontline medications are SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And every second Wednesday of the month at 12 Eastern, same time, I always have a psychiatrist on. We had Dr. Paskar on last week. So I always encourage people to come to the second Wednesday if they have meds questions. So speed round. Yes, compulsions are useless. Treatment is beneficial. Why can't you feel it though in you? You got to do it before you feel it. You got to do the thing. I always tell my clients, you got to back it up with behavior. I promise if you back it up with behavior, let's say you keep steady for a week, you will start to feel it. That's the good thing. It happens pretty quick. And then, oh, that wasn't the one. This is the one. Any tips on how to do an exposure I've been avoiding for months? What I would say is do it at the start of the day. It's always easier to do it early versus late at night when you're tired. Pick a day and a time. Try to do it as part of something you enjoy. So an example is like if I'm going to do a contamination one, go to my favorite restaurant, do it before and then eat my favorite food. So I associate that inhibitory learning with something positive. Tell someone so you have motivation. And if you want to tell us in the chat, we can hold you accountable as well.
Tell someone you're going to do it and then tell someone so you can celebrate that you did it.
Yes. This one's for you. So someone's been doing 2 years of OCD. They have much more purely obsessional and mental compulsions. They're losing motivation because he still deals with intrusive thoughts. How can he commit? You have a great program for this.
Yeah, so we actually, again, so 2 programs you can use. We have a program called Your OCD Toolkit, which will help for OCD. It sort of walks you through exactly what I do with clients. We also have the Rumination Reset, which is a much smaller class that helps you manage this. The thing that I'm hearing here is this idea that doing ERP will stop you from having intrusive thoughts. And I want to take that away. You will continue to have intrusive thoughts because the good news is it means your brain is alive and well. We all have them. So we don't want to actually not have intrusive thoughts because that would mean your brain is not alive anymore. So here is how can you change your mindset towards saying, yeah, we're going to let them come. And here your exposure needs to be practice having every thought you don't want to have so that when you have it, it's not that big of a deal. Like I tell clients all the time, these walls have heard everything because we practice in these walls we get ahead of OCD. I always say to clients, is there a thought that you're afraid to have? Okay, let's get really good at having those thoughts. And we sing to them and we have them on purpose so that when it does happen, we're like, yeah, we've done this before. We've actually had this before. And that's the key component here to change the mindset.
Okay, for your last one, I accidentally clicked it off and can't find it, but I found this great quote, and maybe you can give people a final thought
So
about
it
this.
says courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action despite the fear. This helps one move forward. Yes. So remember, you can't read a book and learn how to ride a bike. The only way to learn how to ride a bike is to get on and lean a bit that way and then lean a bit that way and learn how to finally balance. And that's what fear is like too. It's just practicing. And the beautiful thing here is fear, if you do this work right here today, it will serve you in every area of your life. You will have an advantage over anyone who doesn't do this work because you will have mastered the art of kindly having emotions that all humans have. And so again, get to it. Let's go. Let's fire truck go.
Yes. Okay, for our final thoughts, I'm going to say something to supporters, and then if you could give a final thought to people with, because we had supporters on today more than regular. I just want to say for the people that are supporting somebody with OCD, if you've been noticing that nothing has changed as a family, right? Come together and decide, what are we going to do different? Work with a provider, find out what expectations you can start setting for the household, for the family, for the person with OCD in a loving, kind way. But one of the things that breaks my heart at every family group is the people that have had someone in their life for 30, 40 years that has gone untreated. They haven't gotten treatment, or they did it when they were younger, but now called it off. And I just don't want things don't have to be status quo. Change can happen, and you are a big part of that. Family accommodation scale, like we talked about, it is important as well.
Yeah.
What's the final thought to leave these lovely people with?
Listen, I want you guys to all like get in real close here and like let's have a little chat here. Listen, your thoughts mean nothing about you. Right? Please stop assigning all this meaning to them. I really want you to really listen in and take with you that your thoughts are not facts. And please be kind. You are lovely. You deserve kindness. Like you deserve to do this work, and it's baby steps. So just keep your mind on the game. Like just today, just do what you can today and then take steps from there. Like you deserve kindness. And again, like, please, you're lovely. People with OCD are the loveliest. So please just go gentle with yourself.
As somebody with OCD, I agree. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day. Remember, you can always go to the IOCDF and find a provider and get help. Please do that for yourself. I know there's a lot of barriers to treatment, but getting some kind of help will help. Go to CB2 school as well. And until Kim and I will see you together in 4 weeks. So hang out.
You guys got this. See you then.
Bye, everyone. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.